You've got the Prime Minister who's made a series of terrible decisions, fumbled his way through government, massively incompetent, and who does he appoint as an ambassador? Best pal of Jeffrey Epstein, Peter Mandelson, pictured in a dressing gown, and his wife fronts. The guy is in the absolute pits, isn't he? His biggest lie is he says for his whole thing, I knew nothing at all. Mate, you were the Director of Public Prosecutions. How did you approach your cases? It's a complete madness, absolute scandal.
I'd like to see a coalition between Nigel Farage and Zach Polanski.
He sucks. He's terrible. He can't lead, can't make a decision. He's got zero charisma, minus charisma. I've got more charisma. This is why Starmer's such a shameful, weak man. He's a disgraceful man.
Hello and welcome to an emergency episode of the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ Anisiobi, and today I'm joined by Associate Editor of the Daily Express, the straight talker James Walker. Jimmy Starmer, what's going on?
I mean, what's not going on? The guy is in the absolute pits, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's hired this guy who's just like an infamous wrong'un from going decades back.
This guy being
Peter Mandelson. Sorry, Peter Mandelson, infamous wrong'un. Appoints him as UK ambassador to the US. All this stuff comes out in the Epstein files, and now he's saying, "Oh, not me, Gov. Knew nothing about it. Promise he just lied to me. I didn't ask any questions." And now, it's all about the victims, and we should stop making a political game of it because I might be forced to resign.
Well, here's what he said in his speech today. Yesterday. Starmer said this in his speech. Mandelson betrayed our country, our parliament, and my party. He lied repeatedly to my team when asked about his relationship with Epstein before and during his tenure as ambassador. I regret appointing him. If I knew then what I know now, he would never have been anywhere near government. Thing is, what he knew then was that Mandelson had been friends with known paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and he also knew then that the head of the MI5 had said to Starmer and co, this is a real big security threat and a security risk. Do not let this man anywhere near that role as ambassador to the US.
See, that's Keir Starmer's biggest lie. He says for his whole thing, I knew nothing at all. Like you say, MI5, the police, MI6, just Mandelson's normal public record.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the guy is like not a good bloke.
Yeah.
By any stretch of the imagination.
The Prince of Darkness. He's got that title for a reason.
That's the guy's nickname.
Yeah.
I'll get him in, yeah. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. And he's saying now, Mandelson lied to my face. That's why I got duped. Mate, you were the Director of Public Prosecutions. How did you approach your cases? Did you just go, oh yeah, I'll just take it on the face of it? Yeah. Do you know what? He probably isn't a friend with Epstein because he just told me he's not. So that's that case closed. I mean, it makes no sense, does it?
It makes
Surely
no sense.
He's asked like, well, hang on, mate, you're hanging out with him on his island.
Yeah.
In your little dressing gown.
Well.
What was going on there?
Yeah, but all these things that he was aware of, and he still chose to make him the top job of as US ambassador. Why do you think Starmer didn't listen to the MI5?
I think they're just so desperate for talent, right? They came into government, they had an absolute shocker over time with it. They're supposed to be prepped up to the nines with all these ideas of how they'd run Downing Street, Whitehall, how they'd be so different to the Tories. They get in, Sue Grace has had nothing on her, basically. She's not figured it out. They're scrambling, they've gone, right, who are we going to get? And as usual with Labour, they just lean back to these Tony Blair apparatchiks, your Alistair Campbells, your Mandelsons, and they go, right, who can we get in from the Brown Blair era who used to run the country to maybe help us figure out how we can do it again? So I think it's just desperation. I think there's no one else around who's ever run anything in their lives, a business, government, whatever. And he's like, we need to find someone who's got some experience in government. And they've gone for the Prince of Darkness.
Well, I think it's a bit more than that. So I have a source, I won't say his name, but he was a former Labour MP for many years. He told me that Morgan McSweeney, Starmer's chief of staff, was an acolyte of Mandelson. He looked up to Mandelson. Mandelson was his mentor. And it's Morgan McSweeney who was pushing for Mandelson to be given the top job. Also, then other conspiracy theories are that Mandelson, being the Prince of Darkness, learned a thing or two from Epstein and has some dirt on Starmer and the Labour Party, and that's why he was given the top job.
Well, there's a lot of stuff in the press I saw this morning, going back to the Morgan McSweeney point. A lot of Labour MPs are like, basically sort of a devil's bargain, and sort of saying like, right, if you get rid of Morgan McSweeney, who I gather from previous press reports is just a bit of a pain in the backside of a lot of Labour backbenchers and ministers. They don't like him at all. I think people I've spoken to from inside government, they don't rate him whatsoever. Bit of a strange man. They just want rid of him. And I think they're using this as an opportunity of right. If you, Starmer, are not going to step down, well, your number 2, Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney, he has to go.
Yeah.
It just seems like they're either going to use it to push out McSweeney or Starmer himself. Can you see Starmer surviving this?
Oh yeah, I see him surviving this. I'll tell you why I see him surviving it, because him coming out yesterday and doing a big apology, saying I'm sorry 5 or 6 times. It's a lot better than, say, when Boris Johnson hid in the fridge and refused to face the music. He's hit this head on, and he's he's saying he's sorry. For a lot of people, they'll be like, yeah, okay, cool. Is it anything worse than what he's done previously? Not really. So I think, yeah, we'll survive this. Maybe it's only another 6 months in power for him, but he's not going to be resigning this week, I don't think.
He definitely hasn't got long. I don't know about resigning this week. Should he resign over it? I mean, if you go by his own standards, yeah. When Boris was in power, right, a series of incompetent decisions lead up to Partygate, which then leads up to the whole Chris Pincher business. You know, this former Tory MP, wasn't it? He was appointed into his government, and he had it's a bit of a wrong one, basically, behind the scenes.
Groping men.
Yeah, a groper.
Pincher by name, pincher by nature.
Exactly, yeah. And what we've got here, we've got a Prime Minister who's made a series of terrible decisions, fumbled his way through government, massively incompetent, and who does he appoint as an ambassador? Best pal of Jeffrey Epstein, Peter Mandelson, pictured in a dressing gown, and his wife runs.
But Mandelson himself was not a paedophile.
No.
And there's no, yes, his name's in Epstein files, but there's nothing about him, no allegations about him doing anything untoward.
Yeah.
And this is the difference between Boris Johnson resigning and possibly Starmer, is that Starmer's made a lot of bad policy decisions, a lot of U-turns. He should get rid of his advisors, all of his spads, get rid of them all, because they've all done terrible advice to him to keep on letting him do these terrible decisions. But that's not why Johnson had to resign. First with Johnson, it was his links to Russia, right? Him meeting with Mr. Lebdev, former owner of the Evening Standard.
Everyone did that, though, back in the day. Back in the day when
he met with Lebdev without any of his aides with him. And then suddenly, Lebdev's son gets made a lord. Lebdev's son gets made a lord in our country. Lebdev of St. Petersburg.
That wasn't a big...
that was part of it, because people are thinking, well, where's the money coming from for all these things? Then you had the COVID deaths and the way that they treated COVID, and the comments that Boris apparently made about the bodies piling high. Then you had Partygate, and Partygate was not just the birthday party of Johnson and people saying, he only had a bit of cake. There was the party they had in the garden when the rest of us were on lockdown and separated. Then there was the party for one of his staffers leaving, and Johnson went and attended the party. The quotes at the time said people were squashed in a room, about 50 people, cheek to jowl, is what was said. When I was having to say hello to my father through a window, Boris Johnson was having many, many parties at Downing Street. Then there's a PPE scandal. The Tory government handing out billion-dollar contracts to people, and all of the PPE being basically useless. Then it was Chris Pincher. And at that point, Johnson lied and said, I never knew about Chris Pincher being about these accusations.
Well, I suppose...
And that drew on for a week. And then, and don't forget, this was his own cabinet who resigned. Johnson's own cabinet resigned and forced him to resign. That is not the same situation
I'm not defending Boris. By any stretch of the measure. I'm not defending Boris Johnson.
But when people say this is the biggest political scandal of our time, it's not.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's not good. It's really quite bad. I mean, you go through Johnson's record, rightly, not great. But you look at Starmer's, the Chagos sell-off. No one's ever really explained what that's about. It's so weird. It's so fishy. Now the US are turning and are like, what the hell are you doing? It's a complete madness, absolute scandal. The U-turn on winter fuel payments, the U-turn on the pub business rates recently. It's U-turn, lying about not increasing taxes in their manifesto. They did. Yeah. They slapped a tax on jobs. The Labour Party.
So you want them to go, do you?
But you would say that's bad advisors.
Yeah.
He's the boss.
Yeah, of course he's the boss, but he's surrounded by
He's got to make a decision.
Clearly.
Make a decision, back yourself.
He's surrounded by people who are middle class, super educated, and they all think the same.
Overeducated,
yes. And they all think the same. They don't know what it's like to go to bed hungry. They don't know what it's like to get to the 15th of the month and to look at the bank account and say, I've got 20 quid to last me. They don't understand the real world. So they're advising him on, do these things. No, pensioners are really rich. They won't mind. People don't even like old people. It's fine. They've given him bad advice, and he's surrounded by people who are saying to him, yes, 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 yes. And he's like, okay, well, if you say so, well, I'll do it. In his
That's weak
dialect
leadership,
voice.
though. That's weak leadership.
It is weak leadership.
And for that reason, that's one of the main reasons he should go.
I think he's a weak leader. I do think he's a weak leader. But I think if you had the right people around him, it would be a different story.
Anyway,
It needs more conviction.
moving on. Let's say he does resign. Who do you want in? Any of them, really.
Anyone but Starmer. I mean, listen, to be honest, for me, I would like to. It's never going to happen, but I'd like to see a coalition between Nigel Farage and Zach Polanski. It'll never happen in a million years. Of course, that will never happen in a million years, but that is what I would like to see. Farage and Polanski.
What is in that?
This, my boy, is called vodka from my good friend Lebdev. I think Farage and Polanski, I know people are going to say this is crazy, but you can comment in the box below and tell me your thoughts on this. I think they would balance
It's
each
mad.
other out.
Yeah.
Because Farage has very right-leaning policies. Polanski has more left-leaning. So there'd be a good balance there of Farage getting some of his stuff pushed through. There'd
Yeah.
be a balance of him as Polanski as deputy getting a few of his things pushed through. I think that's more sensible. I'd rather have that than have the Labour government.
Have you got any holiday coming up?
I have actually. Yeah, next
Good.
Friday.
About time.
Well, who do you
I'm
wanna
not
see?
sure about. I'm not sure about a Nigel Farage Polanski coalition, mate. But
I said it won't happen, but that'd be my dream ticket.
I mean, the interesting thing will be who does Labour replace Starmer with? At the minute, I think it's kind of a bit of a golden goose for Farage that Starmer is still
yeah.
in post. He sucks. He's terrible. He can't lead. Can't make a decision. He's got zero charisma. Minus charisma. I've got more charisma. Yeah.
Everyone's got more charisma than
Everyone's got
Starmer.
more charisma than Starmer. Yeah.
So who do you want to see him replaced with?
Well, I mean, they'll probably stick up someone awful like Streeting, who's just a very weird man.
Do you think if Starmer steps down and resigns as Prime Minister, he'll also resign as Labour leader? Because the two things are very different and he hasn't got to do both.
Yeah, I mean, you can never really kind of drop one and carry on doing the other. It's a bit weird.
True.
I can't see that stuff.
If he just resigns as PM but stays as Labour leader, the Labour Party choose a temporary Prime Minister from within the cabinet. Often it's normally the Deputy Prime Minister, so that would be David Lammy. But they could pick, but they could pick anyone from the cabinet, which would rule out.
It'll probably just be like a freeway, right, between Rayner, Streeting, Burnham.
Rayner's not in the cabinet, so that would kind of push her out of it.
I mean, in terms of like a long-term leadership contest.
So if he resigns as both leader and Prime Minister, then it's down to the Labour Party to select whom will be the leader and by de facto the Prime Minister.
Which will happen.
But I tell you, I mean, in that case, I think Rayner would have a very good chance.
Yeah.
But
the base are left wing. You know, the membership are quite left wing.
Yeah.
She's from that wheelhouse, sort of. She's not full blown
she's
hardcore Corbynista, but she's
the
got
union
those
behind her.
leanings. Yeah, she's got unions behind her.
Yeah.
She's a union girl, right? She came up through the unions. She's got a very good chance. Burnham, I mean, he did terribly last time he went for leadership.
Yeah.
But
he's not liked by the politicians in Labour.
No.
But he's liked by the membership.
yeah, he's kind of like had a bit of a Damascene conversion and need to sort of
Yeah.
moving a bit leftward and,
Yeah.
and sort of giving it the sort of the big guns on that
But
front.
here's the final thing I want to say about Starmer and Mandelson. What does it say about Starmer that he can say what he didn't know and he wasn't told the full picture? What we know for a fact he did know is that Mandelson had been busy mates with a paedophile. And he thought, that's okay, I'll ignore that and I'm going to make you ambassador to the US. Andy Burnham has a clean record
and won't.
and Starmer blocks him from running for a seat that Labour could have really benefited from winning. That tells you things to know about Starmer.
this is
And
the
for
most-
me, that's why it's got to go.
This is why Starmer's such a shameful, weak man.
Yeah.
He is just like you say, who happily surround himself with the friend of one of the world's most infamous paedophiles,
Yeah.
a close friend of one of the world's most infamous paedophiles. Sooner do that to try and shore himself up in a desperate attempt to shore himself up than to do probably what's good for his party and face a bit of a challenge
Yeah.
from a guy who's generally a stand-up bloke.
Yeah.
Like not a bad guy. Don't necessarily agree with him, but not a bad guy at all. You know, he's a disgraceful man.
Well, that's it for this emergency episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back on Monday. Bye-bye for now.